These are the 6 most controversial bug fixes in TF2 history, starting with the Taunt Slide, which has had many variations from over the years, but the one variation that wasn't immediately patched dates all the way back to March of 2008. The bug involved performing a taunt of your choice, and then running off of a ledge, which on your screen looked like nothing occurred, but to your opponents, you would move around at regular speed while taunting. And note that this isn't the current day bug where you sometimes get stuck in the taunt animation if you are taunting as the round ends. The former could be triggered at will and was especially problematic with taunt kills. Taunt kills are normally balanced out by the fact that they are very telegraphed and are therefore easy to avoid, so being able to move around and pop out at ideal times is problematic to say the least. This bug additionally enabled players to absolutely fry the speakers of others. After 3+ years of the bug being active, it was patched out without documentation in the 2014 Love and War update, with a new console command being added that could toggle sliding taunts on and off. The patch caused a sizable split within the community. There were many people that genuinely enjoyed using it and argued that its lack of use made it relatively minor. However, it was a hindrance on readability and confusing for newer players, so it was probably a good thing that Valve patched this one out. But one bug that is not so certain are unusual Miscs. Unusual Miscs are among the most desirable items in the game, with many of the most expensive hats of all time being unusual Miscs with old Halloween effects. But it is likely that they are a bug, or at least unintended. Let me explain. Rewinding back to 2009, when hats were first released, there was only one equip region, the hat. But over time, as cosmetic selections got more intricate and other types of clothing were added, Valve needed more equip regions and cosmetic slots, and it is here where unusual Miscs were unintentionally made. With the exception of the 3 glitch end-of-the-line cosmetics and the coffin kit, all 24 Misc items that have known unusuals were all given the ability to be unboxed in unusual form before they were made into Miscs. Unusual Miscs lasted all the way until Screen Fortress 2016, and the reason we know this is because of item IDs. Every item in TF2 has an ID assigned to it that simply counts up in sequential order. While the item ID does change every time an item is named, painted, traded, etc., its original ID is always prominently displayed at the very top of databases. According to a thorough investigation posted on a pastebin that will be linked below, the very last unusual Miscs had item IDs of around 5.17 billion, which is dated around October 15, 2016, a couple of days before that year's Screen Fortress update. Like clockwork, a related Reddit post popped up on October 27th. A few days back, I opened a batch of 83 and a few 84 crates, one of which gave me a unique Pyromancer's mask. As you know, 83 and 84 crates only give killstreak kits. Other players chimed in with similar stories, leading to Valve developer Jill to comment, "Subscribe to Paris on YouTube." What he actually said is that Valve would assist those affected by the error. A few days later, all affected players with support granted a random unusual hat as if they unboxed it from the crate that they originally opened. However, because the removal of Misc items from the unusual drop pool was a silent change, not many people outside the Reddit thread knew it happened. Only a couple years later, when unusual Miscs began to soar in price, did debate surface. Some have argued for their return, saying that many Miscs, both old and new, are so close to being hats, they may as well have effects. Additionally, it would also partially burst the unusual Misc price bubble, as there is no denying that trader mains have hoarded the actual fuck out of them. On the contrary, the beneficiaries of the bubble wouldn't be happy with their profitable hat investment potentially failing overnight. Unusual Miscs also present a concerning impact on game performance. If they all of a sudden became accessible, multiple players in any given server would likely stack unusual effects. Combine this with the fact that newer unusual effects are a lot more intricate than the subtle effects of a decade prior, and Luis Hernandez 2012 likely wouldn't be too happy about his computer catching fire from overheating. It is clear that unusual Miscs were unintentional, and there are 2 ways we know this. First, in the comments of my video documenting the unusual Wikicap controversy, Ronald DD, the owner of the Sunbeams Gibbous, gave some insight. He mentioned how when Valve emailed him to pick a reward hat, they also sent out a blacklist of hats you could not request, with every Misc item in the game being included on said list. Secondly, we know it is true because of the No Mercy mask. When it was added in March of 2011, it could be unboxed in unusual quality, but in October of that same year, it was changed to be a Misc, with an additional undocumented change made to remove it from the unusual drop pool. This undocumented change is also confirmed by the item ID of the most recent No Mercy unbox, which can be dated to the same day as the patch. So while Valve seems pretty hardline on the idea of not stacking unusuals, players and traders remain divided. But one hat bug that trader mains didn't want fixed was Quickswitching. In TF2, there are 19 unrestricted items with the quote, whole head, equip region. 11 of which are able to be unboxed in unusual quality, and it is these hats that the quick switch bug can be performed with. To perform it, you would join a server, unequip your cosmetics, and have your whole head cosmetic in the bottom slot. Then open the console and type plus quick switch, press 6, choose the hat you want, open the console again and type minus quick switch, resupply, and that's it. The most popular use of it is to stack 2 or sometimes even 3 unusual effects together. But on September 26, 2022, Valve out of nowhere patched the bug. What followed was panic in the TF2 scene, with the prices of affected unusuals dropping anywhere from 50 to 75% in most instances. Just 2 weeks prior to the change, a trader had purchased a Poison Shadows Whirly Warrior for $8,600. In the comments of the price suggestion for the hat, people wasted no time in making a mockery out of him. But it is worth noting that many regular, everyday TF2 players enjoyed the bug, as it allowed you to make combinations like a bird head with a hat on top of it. Eventually, a post on 4chan popped up that said, "I just killed the TF2 economy, ask me anything." Though it is unverified whether this post is legitimate, as a bug report was made on GitHub 2 months prior to this all going down. In addition to nerfing rich trader mains though, this update also nerfed TF2's poorest players, as it unintentionally made the Gibbous and Pyrovision goggles unable to be worn together. 2 days later, a one-line patch was released, reverted the quick switch bug while we evaluate. It has now been 3 years, and it seems that Valve has opted not to revisit the bug. Similar, but much less significant, is the Voiceline Cutoff bug, a beloved bug where you could abruptly cut off a voice line by jumping into shallow water. But in February of 2025, it was patched for seemingly no reason. While the bug was pretty worthless by itself, it had a lot of cultural significance and the community unanimously resented the fix. Just like Quickswitching, Valve quietly reverted it in the next TF2 update on May 1st. More perplexing than this though was a Bison's so-called bug fix. On the release of the tragedy that was the 7.6 update, Valve fixed a bug that caused the Bison's projectile to be able to hit players multiple times. Not only was the community pretty outraged that Valve had massacred the weapon, but plenty didn't even know the player penetration ability was a bug at all. The penetration ability was even listed as an official in-game tip on the loading screen, though it is worth noting that all the in-game tips are community contributed. Bug or not, the fix made absolutely no sense and the changes were reverted 1 year later in the Jungle Inferno update. The final controversial bug fix is at the charged turn scripts. About a year after Demoman's first ever shields were added to the game, players found out that they could achieve much sharper turns by opening their demoman.cfg files and pasting in a few lines to mess with the movement. Throughout the years, Valve released a couple of patches to counteract this by limiting the range of mobility on the left and right commands. Players would circumvent this by installing virtual joystick programs, then using scripts to change your movement from mouse to joystick only for the duration of your charge. After years of this specific variation being active, Valve patched it out on April 24, 2014, by giving joystick movement the same limitations as mouse movement. Demo and Demo Knight players were understandably frustrated, as turn scripts just made Demo Knight feel fluid and mobile. But given that it is an exploit that grants an inherently gimmicky subclass easier kills, a lot of players rejoiced about the nerf. Personally, I don't really care, as I don't associate with the mental illness that is maining Demo Knight. Though things seemingly looked up for Demo Knight players as Valve had other additions ready to launch later that year, but that is a topic for another video, so while you wait for that one, subscribe and check out one of these on your screen.